Hello and welcome back to Suspended Animation. I'm your host, Dennis Batholkis, and this is The Boys, Season 1, Episode 6, The Innocence. Innocence. There you go. Sorry I'm a little bit late. You ever have one of those days where, you just start off the day kind of late and everything just kind of, goes along with it? That's kind of what it's been like since about 1976 for me. Um, it just hasn't caught up ever since then. So before I actually get to this stuff, let me get a little bit of business stuff out of the way. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you don't like what you see, you can hit the dislike button. I just ask you go down in the comment section, tell me what it is you don't like, give me a little constructive criticism. And if you want to see when I'm be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below. It might do you good. It might not. Who knows? If you already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick it. You can go into the bell settings and get as many or as little notifications as you want. You can also go to my website, suspendedfanimation.com. See my whole schedule up there. It's also mirrored on my Facebook page as well. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon, but I don't have any tiers as of yet. There we go. You're not late again, Joe. You're actually on time. I'm the one who's late this time around. So there we go. With that said, and the business stuff out of the way, I've got the paddle here. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the shit out of the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can go and comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, who isn't here for the paddle. I know she's out busy. She's doing art and all that stuff, and the art that takes place with it and takes its toll. It does. So one day there will be tears. Yes, there will be. And then there will be tears. Get that? Yeah, there we go. That's just for Sasha out there, who's probably not watching anymore, so who knows. We opened up with a video from Vought called Super in America, and it's a video promo that's supposed to showcase the heroes in the Seven, and of course Starlight's portion hasn't been shot, and the producer, she's looking at it and she's not happy with it. She's like, yeah, that'd be great if we were on TLC between basically she's saying these really low budget shows and all that stuff, reality TV shows. She goes, what we're trying to do is get these guys in the military. That's not going to actually happen, with this kind of thing. And where the hell is the video of Starlight? And he says, well, she hasn't been really making herself available to us. And this is, of course, 2 weeks after Starlight made her speech to the Believe Expo, at the Believe Expo. And her and Huey are sitting at the bar, and they're talking about it. And she goes, God, they just can't leave it alone, kind of thing. And that's when one of Huey's old friends, Anthony, comes by, and he sits down with them and starts telling all these embarrassing stories about Huey. And later on, he's got Huey alone by the bar, and he's like, what the hell happened to you, man? We thought that after what happened at the store, you were gone. We didn't know what happened to you. And with what happened with Robin, we didn't know if you downed a bottle of Drano or what happened to you. And he goes, no. He goes, I just needed, a little chance to pull myself together and get a fresh start. And Anthony looks over at Annie and says, well, she's she's a bit out of your league, kind of thing. And he goes, yeah, I know that. So then we see Homelander shooting footage, reminiscing about his childhood in this house. And you can tell he doesn't really recognize the house, because as he's walking through, he's walking through for the first time. You can tell because he's looking around. He's like, oh, and here's my little league photo. It's actually kind of funny up until the point he gets to see this blanket that's laying on the bed. And he's like, what the hell's this? They're like, what? This blanket? Who the fuck put the blanket here? And he basically walks off set at this point, or walks out of the room, and is pretty much pissed off. So Mother's Milk at this point is telling the boys all about Samaritan's Embrace and how they spread Compound V to 53 hospitals across the country, except for, and I was looking at the map, North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. Those are the 5 states that are not mentioned there, that don't have any pins in them. I actually had to put it on pause at one point because I was doing some, trying to eat is what I was trying to do as well. And yeah, I happened to catch that and I started laughing. Um, and they've been doing this since 1971 and packaging it as a polio virus, polio vaccine. So none of the supers are born; they are all manufactured at that point, and none of them know it. That's the whole thing. And so they're trying to figure out, well, why were they keeping the female and pumping her up full of compound V if they were only doing this to children, to babies before? So what were they doing with the female? What's the whole thing about this? And the female, in the meantime, keeps taking paper from mother's milk, from the table. He keeps interrupting. She keeps interrupting his presentation, if you will, and he's kind of pissed about it. And they want to know what the hell she's drawing too. No one understands what the hell she's drawing all this time. So they're getting ready to go their different ways and all this stuff. And Huey says, "Okay, yeah, I'll keep it on. I'll keep an eye on Starlight." And Butcher goes, "Yeah. So what's been going on with your phone? Your phone's been tits up for the last week." And he goes, "Oh, really?" He goes, I'll have to take a look at that." And Huey just lies expertly at this point and says, "Yeah, I'll have to take a look into that and see what's going on." And Butcher goes, "You know what? On second thought, you're coming with me." And Huey's like, "What?" He goes, "I'm going with you." He goes, "Yeah, I get some to Vanya's and he says, No, we're going someplace else." And we end up seeing Starlight. She's going to Stillwell's office, and out comes Ashley, who's been screaming inside Stillwell's office. And she's pissed off at Starlight because she's gotten fired by Stillwell because of everything that happened at the Believe Expo. She goes, "You know what? I thought I was playing to your strengths, and I said, how could that be fucked up? But there you go. You fucked it up, didn't you?" And she basically says, she tells her how she really feels now at this point, and she really hates her and walks away. So she's in Stillwell's office, and, Stillwell tells Starlight that Ashley's decision to leave was a mutual decision so that she could go and have some opportunities elsewhere, as it was. And then Stillwell tells Starlight, "Can I tell you something? As long as you don't take it the wrong way." She's like, "Yeah, sure." And she goes, "Well, you're a selfish, arrogant child. And you probably watched a lot of Queen Maeve's movies when you were a kid, didn't you?" And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, I wrote most of those. And, they're all cool and everything, and they're supposed to be independent. But that's all bullshit," is what she says. And she goes, "You need to do what we tell you to do," kind of thing. "And you need to cut the diva shit and work with us." And Starlight goes, "No, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to do any more reality TV shows. No more Noxzema commercials. Nothing like that." And she goes, "I'm not wearing the outfit either." And Stillwell threatens to fire her. And she goes, "Yeah, that's great." That's what she goes, "I just came out with a sexual harassment charge against one of the 7, and you're going to fire me. That looked really good." And Stillwell, basically kind of looks at her for a second and says, "Well, thank you for coming. You give me a lot to think about." And just after Starlight leaves, she is pissed, and Stillwell's throwing shit around her office. So then we see the Deep shooting his segment, and he's out on the beach doing a beach cleanup. And of course, he sees a pretty girl walk by, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" As of course, he ends up getting a little distracted, shall we say. And then, of course, he has to refilm it. And then we see A-Train's segment. He's talking about how he found out he had his powers was that they were living in a rough neighborhood, and he outran some bullets that somebody was firing at him. And the director goes, "Oh, that's great, but can we leave out the gun violence stuff?" And then we start seeing him, of course, training with his brother, his older brother, who's always been training him. And he's running slower is what we've got that, what's going on there. So we see that he's slowing down because he's now not on compound V anymore. Yeah. And then, of course, the director brings up Pop Claw and goes, "Yeah, weren't you in that teen group together? I heard she just, died, pretty recently." and that was of exhaustion. She goes, but I think it might have been a drug overdose. Oh, you want to say something nice about her? And Adrian's like, I haven't talked to her in years, kind of thing. Yeah. So Maeve, in the meantime, walks by Starlight. She's in they're actually in the elevator, and she goes, "Wow, you're really milking this for all it's worth, aren't you?" And Starlight goes, as a kid, I read your autobiography so much I wore it out. In fact, I had to buy another issue, another copy of it, because I loved the message of it. She goes, and especially when you broke your arm, when you were saving that bus full of kids, and how you rehabbed with the kids to show them they're just as big of heroes as you are. And she goes, that was something that really, you really stood for something. She goes, and then as the doors open up, she goes, and then I realized that was probably all just made up by the marketing team. Yeah, and just to sell it to the public, and she walks out. And it's like, wow, that's pretty harsh, is what she says, to Maeve there. But probably true at the same time. So female, in the meantime, joins Frenchie out on the couch to watch Shark Week, and Frenchie thinks that she's trying to communicate to him, and Mother's Milk is like, bullshit, Frenchie. She's not communicating shit to you at this point. And Frenchie goes, you know what we should do? We should go to Mesmer, because Mesmer hates soups just as much as we do. And Mother's Milk's like, no, I don't think so. So Frenchie says, I've seen you with Chunky Monkey. He goes, you always want to take one spoonful, but you eat the entire pint. He goes, you know why? It's because you don't like things out of order. And she is out of order. I love how Frenchie just kind of talks him into it. That was actually pretty nice. So Butcher ends up taking Huey to a support group meeting of all people that have had personal loss because of supers. And we have one girl, of course, whose spine was damaged when she was saved by one of the supers. And then we also have Seth. Seth is the marketing guy for Vought that we've met earlier on. And he was involved with someone who had ice powers. And of course, Billy, being the asshole that he is, says, Ice Princess. That's who it was. And he's like, oh, we don't use names here, is what Seth says. And he goes, well, anyway, we were having sex and she climaxed and she turned to ice for just a brief second. And I was still inside her at the time. And it was like putting it in liquid nitrogen, as he said, and it snapped off. My dick snapped off, is what he says. And Billy is whispering something over to Huey, and the head of the group goes, you have something you want to share? And Billy's like, no, I don't. And he's saying something crass, of course, to Huey. And she goes, no, I know guys like you before. You're always tough and all this stuff, but give him the talking stick. And Billy gets very, very pissed off at this point. He's like, I'm not fucking talking about anything. He goes, really, he goes, all I'm seeing is a bunch of people that are whining about what happened to them. He goes, where's your rage? Where's your self-respect? And he goes, if you had that, you'd be out there fucking hunting them down with chainsaws, is what he said. And he gets up and leaves. He tosses his chair down. And Huey tries to apologize, but just kind of gets up and it's like, sorry. And he just walks out. Oh, man. Yeah, just some pretty funny stuff. But also painful at the same time. So the Deep is talking to Stillwell, and he catches her in the hallway and says, she says he basically needs to make a public apology. And he's like, what, and take a sabbatical from the 7 and go out to Sandusky, Ohio. And he goes, whoa, wait a minute, for the dolphin? She goes, no, not for the dolphin. You know what it means. You know what I mean. And he's like, come on, you cover this stuff up all the time. Why can't you do it again? She goes, this is how we cover it up now. And you could see her making her moves against Starlight at this point. And we see him trying to film his apology video to Starlight, and it's taking multiple takes, and he has to be coached on what to say. And I mean, it's just, he's an asshole as well. I mean, just complete and total asshole, but he's a clueless asshole, which is even worse. So yeah, it's pretty bad. So we see the TV channels kind of changing there when the Deep is making his apology video, and it moves over to this kind of like a Doogie Howser TV show with this kid but it's called The Mesmerizer. And as a matter of fact, Mesmer, who is starring in it, is actually called Lieutenant Hauser, which I thought was a nice little touch to that one. It was kind of nice. And we see that it's actually played on a screen in a convention with the adult Mesmer now signing autographs and taking pictures with people. And Mother's Milk comes up and says, "Hey, don't you know A Train? Wasn't he on that teen squad with you?" And he goes, "Yeah, maybe, possibly. Yeah, it's been a long time." And he goes, "Are you a fan of the show?" And Mother's Milk goes, "No, no, no, never saw it." He goes, "But I am a fan of Insider Trading, and I kind of thought you got off there pretty lightly, considering that you touched that guy's hand." And yeah, he goes, "Well, what do you want?" He goes, "Well, touch my hand and tell me." And he grabs Mother's Milk's hand and goes, "You can actually get me to see Cleo?" He's like, "Yeah, I can do that." So it turns out that his daughter, Cleo, he lost custody of 3 years ago because he's a little bit of a drug addict as well. And Mother's Milk has pulled some strings, and he knows somebody in Child Protective Services that he can end up meeting with her. And so they go out to the park to go and meet. And we see that Cleo doesn't really recognize him, doesn't really know who he is. And when he goes to hug her, says, "Hey, I'd like to meet you once a month. Would that be okay?" She goes, "Yeah, I guess, but I don't really know you." And yeah, Mother's Milk says the deal is he gets to meet her once a month for an hour, supervised, and he gets to read somebody that he wants to have read. So Billy ends up taking Huey to the park, the last place that Becca was seen, and he tells Huey that Becca was raped by Homelander. And then afterwards, she came out to the park and sat there for 3 hours motionless. And then she got up, walked away, and no one's seen her ever since. And that was 8 years ago. And he admits that she's probably dead. She probably either went off to kill herself or Homelander killed her, one or the other. And it's the first time we see him mention that she's most likely dead. And he tells Huey that, "You're me," is what he says. And they're all in this together. And it's no time to get distracted by a girl, especially one that's a soup, because you need to learn do your job and, stay on board with that job. Homelander, in the meantime, is outside in the barn of this house that he's at, and he's got a baseball in his hand. He throws it out the door, and you just see it go fly up in the air. This, I have to admit, is probably my favorite line of the entire series. I don't know why. It just made me laugh, but Stillwell's right behind him, and she goes, "That's going to kill somebody when it lands in Boston." I don't know why, but for some reason, that just made me laugh. It was so dark, but at the same time, really damn funny. Because it also reminds me of the Donner version of Superman when he kicks the football, when Superman kicks the football and it goes flying out from the distance, which is still the best practical effect I've ever seen in movies, by the way. And you wonder where the hell that football went. So, but yeah, that line just made me laugh. And so Stillwell apologizes for the blanket and says the guy who was responsible for it has been fired. And I like how Homelander nods in agreement. And then he asks her what kind of place she grew up in, and she says, "Oh, condos, things like that. We moved around a lot." And he goes, "So, tell me, how would it feel if I took you to a house that you've never been in, with stuff that you've never seen before, with pictures that you've never been in before, and tell you that you need to feel something for it, that you need, pretend how much it meant to you?" She goes, "Yeah, that would make me feel pretty shitty. I'm sorry I put you through that." She goes, "But I need you to finish. Can you finish this one last part for me? Film the mom part, and just for me." And she kind of sidles up next to him. And of course, we see him film the mom line, and that's how it's actually fairly creepy. It's a creepy scene between him and her again. And then also the mom scene when he's talking about how she got him into baseball, and she always baked him a birthday cake that was in the shape of a baseball diamond, which is called a square, by the way. A diamond, square. Yeah. And how it was always perfect, just like her. And you can see the fake smile. The actor Anthony just does a fantastic job of having this fake smile plastered on his face as he's talking the entire time. And then when they yell cut, he just drops and goes, "Are we done? Are we done here? Okay, good." And it's just, wow, it's just really fucked up. So Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and the female go into Mesmer's house. He invites them in, and he's going to read her. And he starts seeing all the fighting that she's been doing, basically everything that was going on in the last, basically since we've seen her. You know, her getting thrown through walls, her fighting Black Noir, all this stuff. And she freaks out and breaks his wrist. And he starts screaming, and he's like, "I got to go to a hospital." And he goes, and Mother's Milk's like, "You know what? I was a field medic. I can patch you up a lot better than those Oxycontin junkies back in the hospital." He goes, "You want me to do that? I can do that for you." And just then Billy calls him and says, "Where are you?" And Mother's Milk goes, "Oh yeah, I'm over at Shake Shack. I'm getting a burger, a concrete shake, all that kind of stuff." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That shit must be really good, huh? But it must taste like lies because I've got your phone tracked. So where the fuck are you?" Yeah. And then we see Maeve filming her segment, and of course, you know, her hair is blowing in the wind, and the director's like, "Now this is a hero," is what she says. And all of a sudden, Elena, her ex, shows up and goes, "I've been trying to get a hold of you. You kept leaving me all these messages and things like that. What's going on?" And Maeve's like, "Can you stop rolling? We need to go and talk." And so she takes her off to the side and goes, "I don't come to your place of work and bother you. What the hell's going on?" And so they start talking, and Maeve tries to brush it off like all she wanted was a booty call. And Elena's like, "I know you better than that. When you want to talk, talk to me," and walks away from her. And the entire time this has been filming, the director's been filming this. And Maeve turns and goes, "Are you still fucking filming? I told you to cut." She goes, "No, no, no. We're just getting some shots, setting up for the next scene. We're getting some building footage, is what we're getting." "Okay, you can cut it now," is what she says when she turns away. Which, yeah, exactly. That director was an ass, and yeah. Oh, she moved that camera move for Nubby. She totally moved the camera to go back in the line of sight. So Billy and Huey join everyone over at Mesmer's house, and Billy wants to kill him. He's like, he's seen us now. He's got to die. And Mother's Milk like, "No, no, no." He goes, "We can work with people and not kill them. I've got a deal going on with him. If he says anything about it, he loses, you know, visitation rights with his daughter." And Billy's like, all right, I'll give him a chance." So Mesmer goes and reads the female again. He sees her in a camp in a jungle, and finds out that she's a soldier. And he also sees a flag and describes it. And Billy and Mother's Milk go, "That's the group that's a terrorist group. Frenchie, you're dating a terrorist." And Frenchie kind of turns around and goes, "Is this true?" is what he says. So we see Homelander. He is standing outside. They're wrapping up the set. They're taking everything down, and there's a box of props and things like that. And we see Homelander's blanket as it's labeled in a bag and tucked away. And he opens it up and pulls out the blanket, and we see that Homelander was actually raised in a lab in a little room with the scientists outside. They didn't want to touch him at that point. Yeah, which is kind of fucked up too. So the boys end up deducing that the female was brought in by Vought, pumped up full of compound V, so that they could release her out into an unsuspecting public, so that the only people that could take her down was the Supes, and then that would justify bringing the Supes into the military. So essentially, Vought was creating supervillains, is what was going on. That was the whole deal there. And Frenchie disagrees with them, and he keeps begging her to tell them who she is. And she gets up, she just kind of stares at Billy really, in the eyes, then comes back over and grabs Mesmer's hand, and he starts reading her a little bit more, and he goes, "Okay, her parents were killed. Her and her brother were drafted into this army and forced to fight. And her name's Kimiko. And she just wants to go back and find her brother. That's basically all she wants to do." And Billy says, "Okay, you know what? We got enough evidence. I'm going to Reina." And He threatens, of course, Mesmer one more time, saying that I'll kill you if you say anything to anybody. And Mesmer wants to shake his hand, and Billy just kind of looks at him and goes, "Get the fuck away from me." That's what he says. Yeah. So we see the Deep at a gas station, and he's watching his apology video on the pump screen because, they do have these screens now that show commercials and everything, and it's showing that. And I love the tagline underneath it. Uh, did he do it on porpoise? Porpoise on the bottom. I was like, fuck, man. He's trying to do an apology video, and the news is making this joke, porpoise joke. And of course, somebody drives by and throws a bottle at him and tells him to go fuck himself, fish boy. And he goes, "Thank you for your constructive criticism," kind of thing, and for your voice is what he says, and sips on his drink as they drive away. Billy, in the meantime, meets with Raina, and before he'll give her the compound V, he gives her a list of demands. She goes, "Yeah, just like you to give me a list of demands." And of course, he wants to set everyone up with a good salary, an office space, all this stuff. And of course, he wants Homelander prosecuted. And she goes, "Well, I can give you everything." And she goes, "Well, I'm going to have to run up the chain." And he's like, "Bullshit. You can rubber stamp all of this." She goes, "Well, I can give you everything except for Homelander." And he goes, "Well, then you don't get anything." And she goes, "You don't understand. If Homelander goes psycho on us, he can kill pretty much fucking everybody. You should be scared." And he goes, "No, they should be scared," is what it is. And it's some pretty messed up shit. And he doesn't want to play ball with her. He won't give her the compound V, and he gets up and walks out. Yeah. And so we end up seeing Starlight, and she gets sent a video on her phone, and it's they said, "We found a way to work without you." And we see that they're going ahead with the Citizen Starlight show, and essentially they are going to film around her, if you will, and use footage of her because of course they own it now. And Queen Maeve sees this over her shoulder and says, "Up, the house always wins." And she goes, "Sorry." That's what she apologizes to her and walks away. So Frenchie tries talking to Kimiko into joining them and stopping the soups, and she does agree because he goes, "I'll take you to the airport right now. Just give me the word, and we'll go if that's the case." And she just looks at him and grabs the remote and lays back down. Yeah. Billy comes in and says that Raina got cold feet, and she's not going to go on board with it. And Frenchie's like, "Then we're fucked." And he goes, "No, we're not fucked. We're still going to do what we need to do. We're going to take these fuckers out ourselves," is what he says. And then we see Mesmer. He's calling Tina at social services and leaving a message telling her, my daughter Cleo wasn't really into seeing me, and I don't want to force her into it. He goes, "So I'm going to cancel the rest of the visitations." He goes, "Don't bother calling back. Everything's good. I'm not going to push it." And we see him climb up the stairs, and he's on the roof to meet with Homelander. And he shows him pictures of all the boys that were taken from his shitty little doorbell camera that he's got. He goes, "She said you were looking for all of these?" And he's trying to make small talk with Homelander. Homelander was nothing to do with him. And Homelander looks at everything on his phone and flies off with his phone. So Huey is in the bar again with Annie, and she's telling her, "Yeah, Mom told me that when I was born, I pretty much almost blinded the doctor when I came out. So I had powers from the very beginning." And she goes, "But I don't want to talk about superhero stuff right now, any hero stuff." And she tells Huey, "There's this place that has pink sand out in the Caribbean. We should go out there." And he goes, "Well, what's it called?" "Pink sand." So he goes, "Yeah, book the tickets." And she's like, "Are you serious? Because I want to do it right now." And she's talking about how all this shit that's been happening around her, and he's been the only good thing that's been happening to her, and all of this shit. And as she's talking, he sees Robin over her shoulder, and he leans in and kisses Annie. And as he kisses Annie, Robin disappears. And as they're kissing again, who drops by but Billy? And Billy goes, "Huey, is that you?" And he introduces himself as an old friend of Huey's. And Annie's like, "Wow, we keep running into a whole bunch of your old friends." And then he asks, he goes, "Oh, He goes, I recognize you. You're the new girl from the 7, right? She's like, yeah. And he goes, oh, he goes, how's Translucent? Translucent's one of my favorites. How's he doing? She goes, I think he's off on a mission. He goes, oh, it's been a long time since he's been gone, hasn't he? Yeah, being the asshole that he is. So she gets up to go and get a pitcher of beer. She goes get a pitcher of Guinness. And as she's gone, Billy says, you know, he goes, she's really nice up close, is what he says. He goes, but you need to stop this shit, is what he says. And he goes, what do you think's going to happen when she finds out that you killed Translucent? And Huey catches the word and goes, when? And Billy just gets up and goes, I got to go. Then takes off. He goes, give her my best, is what he says. And he leaves. And she comes back and she goes, where'd he go? And that's where we leave off on the episode. Pretty fucked up. Yeah. But good episode, man. And yeah, like I said, great acting by Anthony. But I'm a fan of his anyway. Yeah, from Banshee, the show Banshee. So I knew he had that in him. So that's actually some good stuff. Maybe Homelander was the prototype or the first, or the Compound V is just random dice roll, and Homelander got all 20s on the superpower rolls. Yeah, I don't know, Tamrox. We will find out. I see. I know the comic. I know what happens in the comic, and I don't want to get too. I'm basically going episode by episode. So whatever happens in the episode, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to talk ahead. I'm also not talking about what happens in the comics ahead of that. If something in the comics pops up in the episode that I'm reviewing, I will talk about it. But yeah, I don't like talking ahead, just in case there's people that are going episode by episode along with me, or haven't read the comic, or just want to be surprised. Quite honestly, because some stuff we get enough shit spoiled for us. Quite honestly, in everyday life, I don't want to add to that shit. I want it to be a surprise for everyone else just as much. Billy just uses anything he can to get people to do what he wants and try for payback. Yeah, exactly. He is revenge driven. He is essentially Bruce Wayne at this point. Yeah. For those joining, VB says hi. She's busy painting purple strands of hair one by one because her other paintbrushes were dirty. Aw, first world problems. Dennis cancels enough shows without worrying about larger spoilers too. I don't cancel shows, man. The movie execs do. It's not my fault. And no one can pin Krypton on me. That was not my fault because I didn't like that show that much. Let's see what we got here. I need to watch Future Man. Halfway done with Doom Patrol, so Future Man will be after that. All right, Tamarox. Yeah, there's a season 3 that's coming up January or February of next year, I believe, is when it's supposed to be coming out, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. Let's see. Well, I'm actually not surprised that Haley Joel Osment was in this. This is run by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldman, and they are actually the showrunners for Future Man as well. So that's the reason why. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Eliza come in and Corey Wolfhart as well at some point in time. There's enough characters in this universe that they are both excellent actors that I would love to see them come in as well. But we know you're disappointed that Tiny Lobo was canceled with it. No, I wasn't. I wouldn't have watched Doom Patrol if it wasn't for the chat and Dennis recommending it. Thanks, Tamarox. Yeah, it's really good. It's probably, how are you enjoying it so far, Tamarox? That's what I want to ask. I mean, not knowing anything about the series, I take it you just kind of dove into it, and you say you're halfway through with it. Tell me what you're thinking of it right now. My fear is Seth writing too big of a role for himself in the next seasons. You mean in season 3 of Future Man, or in The Boys? Which one, maybe for no? Because I think he's just producing The Boys. I don't think he has anything writing wise going on with it. Pen Farm Girl agreed. Tamarux, I didn't want to subscribe to DC streaming, but it's so worth it. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Jane is still my favorite character. She really is. Just finished episode 9. Really like the last couple of episodes where they get backstories on everyone in the series as a whole. I had me hooked after episode 1. Yeah. Wait till you get to Ezekiel. That's all I could say. Yeah, Ezekiel and Admiral Whiskers. Admiral Whiskers just fucking yeah. Oh, that show is just so good. CW will save Krypton, Dennis. No worries. No, it's not. There is no hope for it. I watched Batman Mask of the Phantasm because I could, and you should, Pen Farm Girl, because it's actually a good movie. It's a really good, I haven't seen that in years. Mask of the Phantasm. Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is still one of my favorite movies that they've done. And the uncut version, not the cut version, because the uncut version is just a bit darker, just a tiny bit darker. And they carried it into the comics at one point, the Batman Beyond comics, and they did an excellent job of that too. Yeah, De Guerrero, she deserves, Diane Guerrero deserves an Emmy, quite honestly, if she hasn't been nominated already. Which version is on the DC streaming service? It usually says uncut or cut or edited. I think it's the uncut version that's on the DC streaming service right now, Pen Farm Girl. It basically goes by how someone dies in it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all it is. Yeah. I'm not going to say who. So, good episode. Some good acting in this episode too. But again, this whole series is actually very well done. And I'm looking so much forward to season 2 of The Boys. And remember, I'm finishing off the entire series this week. So I've got episode 7 going tomorrow and episode 8 on Friday. And at episode 8 is where people start putting in their comments in the comment section. You can put in comments in this one as well. But I don't have the foam finger with me, but that's going to be the first place prize. Second place prize is this shiny little coin. That's The Boys, and it's from Amazon. And I'm thinking about third place. I don't know. Does anyone want my wristband from the actual event that was at Comic-Con? Because I can put that in as third place prize. That could be the booby prize. Who knows? Hey, Dennis is back on Fridays. Yes, I am. Well, Thursday I have a meeting I need to attend, so I can't do it on Thursdays. It could make a good bookmark. That's right, Pen Farm Girl. Yeah. I need to watch the animated Tick. The animated Tick is awesome, Pen. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. My favorite scene from the animated Tick, and remember, this was on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., was the Tick getting launched to low Earth orbit by getting punched by something called the Proto Clown. And he's inside his mind, and he has access to the pleasure center of his brain. And it's a gigantic happy face that opens up the mouth, and the tongue comes down like stairs. And he's running up the stairs because he wants to go to the pleasure center of his brain. He's running up the stairs, and the tongue disappears. He starts falling. The ground opens up. He falls into a pit of water. He starts wrestling with a gigantic snake in this pit of water. And they're wrestling around, and they stop, and the snake looks at him and goes, "You don't date much, do you?" I almost fucking peed my pants when I saw that was on a children's television show, because those are all Freudian things of sexual frustration, the giant snake, the little pit of water, all of that. And that it was just awesome. That's one of my favorite scenes. VB was tired from throwing axes and training for the Viking Fall Festival. Oh, okay. Got it. Oh God, I need to rewatch yeah, I know Christopher Heckman. It's some good stuff. Yeah. Penn Farm Girl, if this doesn't move it up your list, I don't know what will. But the guys who write the Venture Brothers, Doc Hammer. Well, actually, Doc Hammer, not so much. He came in later, but Jackson Public, he was one of the people that started working with Ben Edlund on the Tick on the animated series. That's where he started. So yeah, that's where you get. There's a lot of similarities from the animated Tick to Venture Brothers. You'll see a lot of similarities when you go through that. It's like Venture Brothers 0.1. It really is. Dennis's idea: if you watch a show backwards, perhaps it could be uncanceled. If it were, no, that's not how it works. Yeah, the Venture. Yeah, I've got to rewatch Venture Brothers 2, especially season 7. So I saw a couple of animated ones, but I need to watch more. There's a lot of stuff out there. Thank you, Movie Fanobi. Exactly. If you like what you see here, remember, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're still on the fence about joining up, you're going to see the very end of this video. There's going to be a video that pops up here. It's just for you. What YouTube does, it takes the algorithm of all the stuff you've been watching, all the naughty videos you've been watching, things like that, and it pulls a similar video from my vast video library just for you right up here. Up here is going to be Preacher. That happened last night. There you go. Yeah. I have one person who keeps hitting the dislike button every now and then. So, and never puts anything in the comment section about why they dislike it. It just vexes me. That's all it is. Yeah. Exactly. Hit the like button. I mean, like I said, you can hit the dislike button. Just tell me what it is you don't like. I mean, my voice, that's not going to change. I've already gone through puberty a long time ago. With that said, thank you, everybody who joined me tonight in the chat. And thank you out there if you watched the video and you came, if you're still watching at this point. Take a look at what I've got going on for the rest of the week. Tomorrow night is The Boys at 6:30-ish. There we go. Wednesday is the rest of Wu Assassins season 1. Thursday I'm off. Friday is The Boys episode 8. Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off. And Sunday, of course, is Preacher. In next week, we're going to start in on all the new stuff because that is actually Labor Day weekend. Is this weekend? Yes, this weekend. So there we go. I stopped watching Krypton last season, and Get Your Algorithm showed it is a suggested video. You know what? I haven't done Cloak and Dagger reviews. That's why I moved Fanobi. So that's why I didn't show up. So that was the closest thing I could get for you. Was it knew that you liked Cloak and Dagger so much because of all the videos you've been watching of it, like all the trailers and stuff. So it picked Krypton for you. My upcoming birthday week. Nice, Joe Greer the third. I'm gonna try and finish Woo. The ending wasn't spectacular. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll get into that on Wednesday, though. So again, thank you everybody for joining. I'm gonna let you guys go because I know it's late for you guys, especially out on the East Coast. And I'm gonna go and walk the little furry one, which is not a euphemism. It's actually my dog. She's sitting over there and she's looking at me like, "What the hell, man?" So thank you, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow for The Boys episode 7. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may get beamed from a baseball that came from New York and achieved a low Earth orbit before it actually got sent off to its final destination, which was the back of your head. Thanks, everybody. Good night.